you are an artist and creator. When I started working in design, one of the requirements was being able to draw. And I cannot draw at all, and I thought maybe I should not apply. But the funny thing is that I got accepted and I never had to draw. But that just reminds me of how oftentimes, especially in the arts, we think we need to meet certain requirements in order to be considered an artist. And that's completely wrong. And the thing is, a lot of times when you think about any kind of art, we think of aesthetics. And a lot of times if we get started in arts, things aren't aesthetic. So we categorize ourselves like, oh, maybe I'm not an artist, or maybe I'm not good enough. And maybe that is why we will quit. But what I realized is that art, before being aesthetic or anything, is about making people feel something. When I went to this art exhibition, I already made a video about that you can also watch. Something that I realized is people were really creative. It was so interesting to see how people use their abilities and skills where they were really good at versus what they were not really good at, and how they like combined these things to create something new. Whatever they created, like everything made me feel something. Whatever you put out there, we always compare ourselves to people that we think are really good in that industry. And I remember that getting into graphic design. Like in graphic design school, all the other students, they had tattoos, they had piercings, and I was also the youngest, so I thought like I totally don't fit in. But art is so many things, and it also reminded me of when I would write fan fictions when I was younger. There were a lot of people that liked my fan fictions, and that's also a form of art. A lot of times people have this like hierarchy of this is like the best kind of writing, or even with music. Classic music is this and it's high class, but then rap is not. And that's completely wrong. Whatever it is that you're into, that is art. If you make people feel something, and if it's also like a way of expressing yourself and your emotions, that is exactly what art is about. Whatever it is that you're creating, and it doesn't have to be aesthetically pleasing, and it can make people feel frustrated if you want to demonstrate something specific. And it also reminds me of this one book that I had a really hard time reading it because it was very slow burn and there was no climax in this book at all, and it just left me very confused and not at ease at all. But at the same time, I think it was a very interesting experience because I never read a book like that. That is also what art is. It's like a creative outlet for people, but also like a great way to connect with others and show them how you're feeling. And there are other people that struggle to express their feelings, and they will resonate with the art that you create. Try to break some rules, especially in graphic design. I learned so many rules about the golden ratio and what kind of colors to use for what kind of product. But at the same time, I think it's also about experimenting and mixing things that are very uncommon. And especially if you want to also get into content creation, it can be very overwhelming because there's so much information, so much inspiration, and it can be really hard to understand like what is the kind of content that I want to put out there. Because if you start to criticize yourself, you will always think like there's already someone out there that probably does the same kind of content. Like, why does it matter that I do it? And even if it's just for the sake of you getting your creative thoughts out there, do it. Like, it doesn't need to have a lot of people watching in order to be considered an art as well. I had a friend that told me they didn't get into content creation because they felt like their space doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. And please never make that be your reason to not start. Because I've seen people with the least aesthetic pleasing rooms make the coolest videos because they had such a great storytelling. It's not about how you look, not even necessarily how you dress, but it's how you make other people feel. If you're really passionate about something, other people are going to feel that as well. If there is something inside of you that is saying, I want to get into arts, I want to get into this specific thing, I think there's nothing that's holding you back. Like, I've seen so many interesting approaches in any kind of art or forms that people did something very specifically, like a hobby, and they will probably not even consider it art, but to me it is art. Like the way that, I don't know, some people can move their body, the way that people express certain things, it's just so cool. So whatever it is that is holding you back right now because maybe you think you're not good enough, go for it. I want to see it. Hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.